Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank all of you for listening. Please subscribe. I'd love to be able to get up to 3,000 subscribers. Our Pistons tonight defeated the Brooklyn Nets 130-77. That's a 53-point spread, the biggest in Piston history. So it wasn't the most thrilling game to watch, but our guys put on a show. They did some good things. Jalen Duren, though, was named to the All-Star team, and even though we know it was inevitable that he was probably going to get it, you never know. You just never know. We're going to be hearing from different podcasters for the next week about who got snubbed. But Jalen Duren, he is 22 years old. And all of you listeners, I don't know if any of my listeners that said, get rid of Duren, he's no good, that constantly were, criticizing him. Well, where are you now? But anyway, will Duren be a starter? I don't know what happens now. So they named the starters. And so I think that's just now kind of like an official thing. But Adam Silver, my brother, he's a college professor. He was wondering if Duren would be named a starter in place of Daniss. But I do think there's a really great chance that Duren will be named a starter because there's going to be 15 starters because there's 3 teams at the All-Star game this year. But my dream, my hope, and if Adam Silver has any goodness in his heart, he will put JB coaching Cade and Duren so we can see that lob connection. And those guys aren't going to just lay down and die, so he should – and just not try hard. Those guys will play hard. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the trade deadline. So it's interesting enough, and you never know, I'm not reporting anything, but Michael Porter Jr. did not play tonight because of personal reasons. Sometimes, I've seen it many times in every sport where a guy has been held out of a game because he was traded, and they didn't want to play him and have him get hurt before the trade went through. So, not reporting that. We don't know that, but Mark Stein has reported that the Pistons are interested in Michael Porter Jr. and also that he's interested in Miles Bridges. So we'll see about that. Most of us I don't think want Miles Bridges. For one thing, he does not shoot the three, and that's why Michael Porter Jr. is the perfect fit. Obviously, we would be able to get Miles Bridges for a lot less, and his trade value is a lot lower. So we'll just see what happens. It's Thursday. Things are going to happen Thursday. One challenge with the Nets, though, I have to say, is a lot of the guys we want to unload or trade, and either might have some trade value, are guards, and the Nets just drafted a whole bunch of guards, so they're loaded with guards. So. Yeah, just hard to say what is going to happen exactly with Bridges. Bridges is 6'7". He's 28 years old. He's averaging 18 points, which is big-time scorer, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 45% from the floor. But he's consistently in his career only shot 33% on threes. And so he's got one more year after this, I think, that is $22 million. They owe on his contract. Maybe it's 2 more years. So... yeah, I think it's at least 2 more years that he's owed $22 million on his contract. So, Michael Porter Jr. is owed he's paid for this year and next year. So it's interesting what's going to happen. What are the Nets going to want? The league is so different. You just look at, and I haven't given my talk about Daniss, but I get tired. I listen to a lot of NBA podcasts all the time, and I'm sick and tired of listening to Daniss trades. And I said this 3 years ago. They blew it, especially 2 years ago. They should have traded Daniss 2 years ago. His trade value would have been twice as much. And now the trend is like even the Rockets got Durant for hardly anything. And look at what happened with Trae Young. They gave him away. And that's just happening now in the climate, in the fiscal climate, because of the different aprons and stuff. People aren't trading. People don't want to commit to big guys, but Daniss is hurt all the time. And who wants to mortgage and give up all the stuff to get a guy that's hurt all the time. But 2 years ago, I would have made the trade that people are talking about because he was younger. He hadn't been injured all the time, and he's one of the greatest players. So I would have traded Ivy and Holland and Tobias and 2 first-round draft picks or 3 first-round draft picks for Giannis 2 years ago, 2 full seasons ago. I probably would have pulled the trigger on that one, but not now, not the way it is now. So everybody is talking about how no trades can be made until Giannis is traded. Well, there were a couple of trades made. We're going to talk about those. One trade was for a guy that one of my listeners wanted to get that played for the Hawks. So we're going to get into a lot of different things today. But another story that's out there is that Daniss turned down a contract extension. So what they offered him was to pay him a minimum for the rest of the year, a minimum salary, NBA minimum, and then next year a minimum salary. Well, of course, if his agent was doing his job, he would tell him to turn that down because he should be able to and will be able to get more money than that. And so, but he likes playing here. He's talked about it he was interviewed after the game tonight, and he said how much, they gave him a chance and he likes playing with them and everything. So, but they're going to have to give him more money at least on the second year. They're going to have to guarantee him some more money on the second or third year. I don't know what they're going to do. But the other thing is that everything's kind of in limbo. So his 50 games turns out that it is over. He's on a two-way. So a two-way players only get to play 50 games with the NBA team, and then they can play the other games in the G League. Well, his 50 games is going to be up, and if he doesn't get signed to a full contract by the end of the 50 games, he can't play in the playoffs. So we're going to have to, but I think there's a chance that we're waiting to see what trades are going to be made by that day so we can know that maybe who we're going to actually keep on our under contract. So if we can trade 2 for 1, then we can just absorb him. Otherwise, we're going to have to cut somebody. So yeah, that's going to be, that's part of the trade deadline, is part of the way I think what's maybe holding up with him, what's holding up. So we'll just see. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen at the trade deadline. It's always fascinating. You got to hold our breath. But Donovan Mitchell got named to the All-Star game. So there's a lot of good players that are named: Jalen Johnson and Towns and Siakam and Powell and Duren, and I can't read who I wrote down the other person. But anyway, there's going to be a lot of debate because I know some of those guys weren't the guys that was the consensus was that were going to get picked. But anyway, Cade and Duren, they are going to the All-Star game. They have been best buddies since Duren came to the Pistons, and they've been, during the offseason, they traveled, they go on trips. Cade took him overseas, and they went on a trip overseas. They went to Colorado, Duren and Cade, and ran in the mountains and in the where the air is lighter, and so it was harder conditioning. And they go to Texas, where Cade lives, and they work out together. They've been doing this every year, and so they've got a great bond, and that's really cool that they are both going to be all-stars together. So it's really fun. So, but tonight, our all-star Cade Cunningham had 15 points, 11 assists, 4 steals at halftime. And that's he was 2 for 5 on free throws. Another thing that was interesting, so tonight, Cade threw this baseball pass or football pass, like from opposite free throw line all the way down to the corner to Javonte Green, who then made a three-pointer. And it was right on the money. And then later, someone threw a pass, I don't know if it was Duren, threw a pass, a full-length court pass to Cade, and he caught it for a touchdown and then scored an easy layup. And I watch, if you go before the games, every time before the games, again, Cade's workout buddy coaches Jared Jack. And so they throw those passes. Before the game, they throw a bunch of passes where they throw and catch long passes all the way across. They threw it from one side of the court to the other side of the court to each other. So that's something that Cade's works on all the time. So yeah, pretty cool. But JB said what a pleasure it is to work with Duren and how much he loves it, how much he is impressed by him. every day. He comes to work every day and how he's become a better leader. Another topic, Isaiah Stewart, and I can't help it. I can't. This game tonight, there's games that you get, there's pressure on and it's real competitive. But Stu, I don't know. I love him, but he's just got to get not thinking that he's macho man. I've said this before. He's the nicest guy on the team. He is the nicest guy. I watched him. I've been to the open practices. I watched him way before games. He is the nicest guy. Why does he have to push and get technicals? He deserves the technicals. He's got 11 technicals. You get 16, you're suspended a game. But then after you're suspended a game, then every 2 technicals you get, you're suspended another game. And there's all the guys, the usual, Draymond and Luka, those guys are a little bit above him, I think. But all the guys on the list play way more minutes than he does. So he's getting more technicals per minute played than anybody in the league. But here's another thing I want to talk about that I believe in analytics. I think there's a time and a place for them. And I think that good franchises are smart if they look into those numbers, but they can be deceptive. There's things that happen. Why I listen to guys, they preach it all the time that this month, this team's the top defensive team and this second top best offensive team and all these things. And they're always saying, oh, well, since January 1st, this team is the best. And since December, this team's the best. And I just hear it all the time. But here's the thing, you get games where, like, we played the Nets tonight. They didn't play Michael Porter Jr. and they didn't play Clowney, 2 of their best players. And sometimes I think these teams, when they're going to give guys a rest, a night off, they give it against the Pistons because they know they have no chance. But I know the Nets are tanking, so who knows why. But anyway, you get a game like tonight, and obviously, you give up only 77 points and you score 130 points, your offensive rating is going to be really high because our net rating is better than what I think it's better than Oklahoma City maybe now. So there was a power ranking that came out, and there's multiple power rankings, and sometimes power rankings, they just mix them up just so they can get clicks. They just change the power rankings and player rankings just to get people fired up. But Pistons were rated number 1 over Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City struggled a little bit lately. Pistons have been pretty hot. Everybody's been losing some. But anyway, I'm just saying that the Pistons, you get a game like we had with the Pacers that we destroyed them, and then a game like tonight, and you get those in the same month or whatever, then your ranking is going to be really high. But we have been shutting teams down. Our defensive ranking has been outstanding. We gave up a lot of points against the Warriors. We gave up 20 points. But anyway, we're got a tough defense. One of the best, coolest plays of the game tonight was, though, Asar Thompson. I always say I love Asar. He stole the ball at half court, and there was only 3 seconds. The Nets had to get off a shot before halftime, and Asar steals it. He's right on the half court line. He lets it fly, and he banks it in at the buzzer. And Daniss hit a shot at the end of the first quarter, a layup, and made a buzzer beater. So anyway, fun to watch our guys. It's fun to have a team that blows other teams out. Asar, he played 25 minutes tonight. He was 4 for 5, 1 for 1 on threes. His half-court shot he made, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 9 points, plus 43, plus minus. That's best on the team. But that's great 25 minutes, those stats, man. Tobias played 20 minutes, 2 for 4, 1 for 2 on threes, 6 for 6 on free throws, 2 rebounds. Duren, 24 minutes only. That's exactly half a game. He was 8 for 12. 5 for 6 on free throws, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 21 points in half a game. So Duncan, 22 minutes, 3 for 8, 2 for 5 on threes, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Cade played only 26 minutes. He ended up with 7 for 11, only 1 for 4. So he only missed 1 shot that wasn't a 3. So he only missed 4 shots, but he was 3 for 7 on free throws. And again, it can't go in, Cade, if it doesn't get above the rim. Somebody needs to tell him that. 4 rebounds, 12, 12 assists. He had, like I said, he had 11 in the first half. He didn't play a lot in the second half. 4 steals. He had all in the first half. 3 blocks. 3 impressive blocks. Cade had. Guys had on breakaways, and he had 2 turnovers. But Stu played 21 minutes. So if you notice, they have I'm just shocked that Stu doesn't play more minutes. Even when he's not in foul trouble, and he typically only plays like 23 minutes, but he has to play in order to get the defensive player award. So I know that they waited till he got to 21 minutes and then they took him out right away, and so he can get that award, because you have to have so many games where you it's not the average of minutes played, it's the number of games you play where you played over 20 minutes. So he was 3 for 6, 0 for 1 on threes, 3 for 4, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block. It was this bobblehead night. He has a farm. They had a bobblehead of him on a tractor. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I just wish he wouldn't get so mad. And I don't know. But Ivy struggled again. He played 20 minutes. He was 3 for 9, 2 for 6 on threes. He had 2 rebounds and assists. Ron played 20 minutes, 3 for 9, 0 for 9, 0 for 5 on threes. Are the coaches going to tell him not to shoot threes in the playoffs? I don't know. Ron is confident. And I will say this. I can say I love watching Ron. We all love watching Ron. But, you look at the other players. There are 11 players picked ahead of him from last year's draft, which was not supposed to be any good. And there are 11 players picked ahead of Ron, which most of them play more minutes. Most of them take more shots. So they obviously are going to have the counting numbers are going to be higher for those guys. But I don't feel like he necessarily got snubbed by, over any of those guys. Ron plays this role where he plays like 17 minutes a game and he comes in and brings lots of energy, but he's limited to what he can do. So Daniss, 20 minutes, 6 for 9. He was having fun. He was pouring it on. We were pressing them. There was like 3 minutes left in the game and we're up by 50 and we're pressing them. It just didn't make sense to me, but Daniss was 5 for 6 from the line, 1 for 2 on threes, 4 rebounds. He had 18 points. Javonte Green played 19 minutes, 3 for 3. Sasser was on fire, 15 minutes, 4 for 6, 4 assists. It's 4 assists, 4 for 6 in 15 minutes. That is incredible. B-Ball Paul, 8 minutes only. How does he only get 8 minutes in a blowout like this? We just expect him to be ready and play in a pressure situation and play lots of minutes if Duren or Stu get hurt or in foul trouble. But he was 2 for 3 with 4 rebounds, 1 assist in 8 minutes. So the Jazz beat the Raptors tonight. The Raptors show signs of being this good team. A lot of teams show these signs. So here's the thing is a lot of teams have stretches where they look really good and they win some games in a row, but a lot of times it's hard to win in the NBA, and the Jazz are tanking half the time, and then they turn out and win the game. But anyway, I don't remember the name of my listener who made in a comment that we should try to get, his name's Vite, V-I-T, Critchie or something like that. He's 6'8", and he can shoot the 3. He doesn't play that many minutes, but he makes over 2 threes a game at a high percentage, 42%. So he would be a guy. He's only 25 years old, but they traded him to the Bulls for a couple second round picks and a backup center that never heard his name before. Schroeder got traded again. This is like at least his 10th team. It's crazy because he's a pretty good player, but he's in Keon Ellis. So I wanted Keon Ellis. I thought maybe we could swing a trade and get Keon Ellis and Malik Monk, but the Cavaliers got him. So the Cavaliers traded DeAndre Hunter, who they were hoping was going to be a big time starter or a big time player for them. And anyway, they traded him and got some help. But a couple guys I've talked about before, these guys I wanted 2 years ago. They were free agents. We could have got them for $9 million a year. And these are the 2 guys I said we should get for cheap contracts, and they went for cheap contracts. But Najee Marshall, he's only 28. He's 6'6". He's averaging 15 a game, but over the last month, he's averaging like 18 a game. Over the month of January, he did. And he, obviously the Mavs are depleted a little bit, but he's 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 54%, but only 31% on threes. And so that is the problem. I mean, it's undeniable. Everybody talks about it, that the Pistons have this great team, got a chance to make a lot of noise and make a long run into the playoffs. But even when we win some of these games and we're making 6 threes a game, it's just not, the math isn't going to cut it. We're not going to be able to win. So that's the reason not to get him. He's only making $9 million a year. Same thing with the other guy wanted. When we wanted a stretch 5. Well, Jalen Smith is only 6'8", but he plays the 5. He plays the 4 and the 5. He's 25 years old. He's averaging 10 points a game for the Bulls, 7 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 48% from the floor, 38% on threes. And, he's a good player. He could come in and be a great bench player that, could help make a difference. So, yeah, in December, he averaged 15.5 points a game, and then in January, he averaged 18 points a game. But anyway, as soon as excuse me, I got a little bit of cold here, but anything happens, I'll jump on if there's anything happens in a trade before the deadline, and otherwise I'll be on Thursday probably after the deadline and talk about things that have happened. But we play big game Tuesday night. The Nuggets are coming to town with the Joker and Jamal Murray, and we just beat them, and they didn't have any of those guys, or they had Jamal Murray, but it's going to be a challenge for us. I'm excited to watch it and see what happens, but be the reason that somebody feels heard and happy, and go Pistons.